Look around you. Everything you hate about your life was built by your own thoughts. And everything you dream of, it's waiting just on the other side of your mindset. You weren't born weak. You were programmed to think that way. Now it's time to wake up. Your mind is the control center of everything you experience. Every emotion, every reaction, every choice you make, it all begins in your mind. The way you see the world, the way you see yourself, and the limits you believe exist are all shaped by your thoughts. What most people never understand is that reality itself isn't some fixed, unchangeable structure. It bends to the perspective of the person looking at it. Your success, your failure, your pain, your power, it's not out there. It's in here. If your mind is undisciplined, it becomes your greatest enemy. It lies to you. It convinces you to settle. It tells you to hit snooze, to eat trash, to scroll aimlessly, to quit when things get hard. It makes excuses sound like truth. It paints fear as safety. And worst of all, it blinds you from seeing how much power you really have. That's what happens when your mind controls you instead of you controlling it. You end up living a life far beneath your potential. Comfortable but empty, busy but going nowhere. Alive but not truly living. But when your mind is disciplined, when it becomes a tool instead of a tyrant, everything changes. You stop reacting and you start deciding. You stop complaining and you start creating. You begin to understand that pain is not punishment, it's fuel. Discomfort is no longer something to avoid, but something to lean into. You begin to chase hard things, not because they're easy, but because they mold you into something greater. A disciplined mind sees a challenge and says, good, this will make me better. Think about it. A weak mind folds at the first sign of resistance. It looks for the easy way out. But a strong mind, it holds the line. It pushes when motivation dies. It keeps showing up even when no one is watching. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. Discipline doesn't ask for comfort. Discipline builds consistency, and consistency creates results. There's no secret formula. People keep searching for hacks, quick wins, shortcuts, but they're all trying to avoid the truth. And the truth is simple. You must master your mind, or your mind will master you. It's binary, it's brutal, and it's real. You don't need more motivation. You don't need to feel ready. You need to develop control over your thoughts. Because every day the world will throw distractions at you. Every day your own brain will tempt you to drift back into weakness. It will whisper things like just one more time, or you've earned a break, or you can do it tomorrow. And the moment you entertain those thoughts without filtering them, you lose ground. People don't realize how fast their minds can spiral when they're undisciplined. One lazy thought turns into a lazy habit. One compromise turns into a lifestyle. One excuse turns into an identity. You don't become average overnight. It happens one soft decision at a time. You don't even notice it until you look in the mirror and don't recognize who you've become. You weren't beaten by the world. You were conquered by your own mind. But the good news is, the same mind that can destroy you can also rebuild you. You can train it. You can rewire it. Just like the body can be conditioned to lift more, run faster, endure pain, your mind can be conditioned to focus, to persist, to dominate. You don't train it by wishing, you train it by action. Wake up early when you don't want to. Work out when it hurts. Stay locked in when others get bored. Say no when everything in you wants to say yes. That's how discipline is built. Every time you choose strength over softness, your mind gets sharper. Every time you stay committed to your path despite distractions, you become more dangerous, and eventually something clicks. You start to enjoy the discipline. You start to crave the grind. You start to realize that you're not like most people anymore. Because most people are ruled by emotion. Most people are slaves to comfort. Most people live in fear and call it normal. But not you, not anymore. You start to notice that your life bends in the direction of your thoughts. You realize that nothing around you needs to change until your mind changes first. Wealth, power, freedom, health. None of that happens without mental control. If your mind is weak, you'll sabotage every win. If your mind is sharp, you'll turn every loss into a lesson. At the end of the day, you either master your mind or it masters you. It's a choice. And if you don't make that choice, the world will make it for you. But once you take control, once you wake up and realize the mind is yours to command, there's nothing and no one that can stop you. Because you now understand your mind controls your reality. Discipline it or be destroyed by it. Physical strength turns heads. It looks impressive in the mirror. It might win applause for a moment, but mental toughness is what builds a legacy. It's what separates those who dabble from those who dominate. You can lift all the weights you want, but if your mind collapses under pressure, none of it matters. Strength isn't found in how much you can bench. It's found in how much adversity you can carry without breaking. The world doesn't reward potential. It rewards resilience. And the only thing that gives you that edge, the thing that turns pressure into power, is mental toughness. Everyone wants success until they feel the cost, Until the nights get long, the failures pile up and the motivation fades. That's when most people break. Not because the task was impossible, but because they were mentally soft. You can give two people the same strategy, the same tools, the same opportunities. One will thrive and the other will quit. The difference, not talent, not luck, just toughness. One refused to fold when things got hard. One chose to keep moving forward even while bleeding. That's what makes someone elite. Mental toughness doesn't come from comfort. It's forged in fire. It's built in the moments where everything inside you says stop. You can't do this. And instead of listening, you step forward. You silence the doubt. You embrace the struggle. And you build momentum, not from ease, but from resistance. Anyone can act confident when life is smooth, but when life punches you in the face, when your plans fall apart, when you feel alone, lost, and underestimated, your reaction in that moment reveals everything. Weak minds look for the exit. Tough minds look for the lesson. They don't crumble when they lose. They analyze, adapt, and get back up sharper. They don't cry about the problem. They solve it. Mental toughness means having the discipline to do what needs to be done, especially when you don't feel like it. It means waking up early when you're tired, sticking to the plan when distractions are everywhere, and staying locked in on the goal even when the results are taking too long. It's the ability to endure pain without complaining, to stay calm in chaos, and to remain focused when everyone else is panicking. Life doesn't care about your excuses. It doesn't care how hard your past was or how unfair things seem. The world will keep spinning whether you choose to toughen up or not. But if you want to rise, if you want to win, there's no way around it. You have to become mentally unbreakable. You have to make decisions based on vision, not emotion, because emotion is temporary. Emotions change. One bad day can mess up an entire life if your mind is weak enough to let it. But when you're mentally tough, you don't let emotions run the show. You stick to the mission. You stay grounded in your purpose. That toughness also brings clarity. When you've been through fire, you stop fearing the flame. You don't panic when adversity hits. You expect it. You plan for it. You use it. That's why the elite don't need sympathy. They don't need someone to hold their hand. They've built a mind that holds the line when everyone else folds. A mind that doesn't panic under pressure. A mind that sees failure not as the end but as part of the process. Most people think toughness means acting hard or aggressively. It doesn't. Real toughness is quiet. It's not about pretending you're invincible. It's about knowing that even when you're broken, even when you're exhausted, you still show up. You still fight. You still believe. Mental toughness is that switch in your brain that says, I'm not done yet, when everyone else would have quit. It's choosing to be consistent when nobody claps for you. It's holding yourself accountable when no one's watching. That's what separates the weak from the elite. The weak are driven by feelings, opinions, and short-term comfort. The elite are driven by values, vision, and long-term discipline. One group complains, the other group adapts, one group reacts, the other group responds. And when the storm comes, and it always comes, the weak get washed away, the elite becomes stronger. You don't need to be the smartest, the most gifted, or even the most experienced. But if you're mentally tough, if you refuse to break, you will outlast, outwork, and outwin everyone who's only tough when it's easy. Success doesn't go to the most talented, it goes to the most relentless. The ones who stay in the fight long after the crowd is gone. The ones who show up with no applause. The ones who keep going because they said they would. But if you really want to level up, if you're serious about becoming dangerous, stop obsessing over motivation. Stop waiting for perfect timing. Start building that mental armor brick by brick. Do the hard things. Choose discomfort. Embrace the grind. Let the world test you, because that's where you'll separate yourself. Mental toughness is the edge, the foundation, the fire. It's what turns dreams into results and pressure into power. And once you've got it, there's no going back. Because the moment your mind becomes unshakable, nothing can stop you. Freedom, wealth, and power, all the things most people chase, don't start with money in your hand or a car in your garage. They begin in your mind. People have it backward. They think if they just get lucky, if they just get that one opportunity, if they just land that one deal, their life will change. But what they don't realize is that if your mind isn't ready, you'll blow every opportunity you get, because you didn't build yourself to handle it. Freedom is not a passport stamp. It's not a vacation. It's not even quitting your job. Freedom starts with the ability to think independently. Most people are not free, not because of their environment, but because of their mindset. They're trapped in fear, trapped in comfort, trapped in needing validation from people who don't even matter. They walk around physically free, but mentally caged. They can't say what they think. They can't do what they want. They can't break out of the loop they've built for themselves. They are prisoners of their own doubt, their own excuses, their own emotional weakness. You can't buy freedom. You build it by becoming the kind of person who doesn't break when life gets hard. By building a mind that makes decisions based on logic and vision, not fear and emotion. By choosing to be disciplined when everyone else chooses to be distracted. A free mind is dangerous Because once you stop depending on society's system to define your worth, your value, or your path, you become untouchable. Wealth is the same story. People obsess over numbers, over their bank account, their salary, their income streams. But here's the truth. If you don't have a wealthy mindset, even millions won't save you. Lottery winners go broke. Athletes make tens of millions and end up bankrupt. Why? Because money without mental discipline is a ticking time bomb. You can't keep what you didn't mentally prepare for. You need a mind that understands how to manage, multiply, and protect wealth. A mind that knows how to delay gratification, make strategic decisions, and stay sharp under pressure. Wealth doesn't come from hustle alone. It comes from clarity, control, and consistency. And those are all mental muscles. Power, that's not about how loud you are or how many people follow you. Real power is quiet. It's not something you show. It's something you command. It's walking into a room and owning it without saying a word. That comes from self-respect, from confidence built through suffering, through sacrifice, through pushing past limits most people never touch. Power starts with knowing you don't need to prove anything. You don't chase approval. You move with intention. You speak with weight because you've done the work in silence. But here's the catch. None of these things, freedom, wealth, power, will last if they come to a weak mind. That's why people sabotage themselves. They get a taste of success and then crash because they weren't mentally equipped to handle pressure, attention, or responsibility. They thought the game was physical, but it never was. It was always mental. You build your future by first mastering your internal world. You can live in a small apartment, drive an old car, and still be more powerful than someone in a mansion if your mind is bulletproof. Because mindset drives every move you make. It decides how you respond to failure, how you handle temptation, and how you think when no one's watching. It decides whether you settle or stretch, whether you survive or scale, whether you let life happen to you or take control and build it on your terms. Every rich, powerful, and truly free person you admire, they didn't start with perfect conditions. They started with a mindset that refused to stay average. They saw through the illusion. They understood that unless they took full control of their thoughts, their habits, and their beliefs, nothing would ever change. So they trained their minds like a weapon. They guarded their focus like treasure. They made discipline their default setting. And because of that, everything else followed. The lifestyle, the money, the freedom, it was all a byproduct of the mental foundation they built long before anyone knew their name. You can fake results temporarily, but if your mind isn't solid, the cracks will show. You'll get overwhelmed, you'll crumble under stress, you'll burn bridges, lose discipline, and spiral. That's why mindset is the first step. It's not just motivational talk, it's survival. You can't lead a team, a business, or even yourself if your mind is chaotic, emotional, and reactive. The world rewards the calm, the calculated, the focused, and none of that happens by accident. It's trained, built daily, one disciplined thought at a time, one high-standard decision after another. When you master your internal world, your external world follows. And when that happens, freedom, wealth, and power aren't things you chase. They're things you attract. They come because you became the person who could handle them. And that kind of strength doesn't come from luck. It comes from building a mind that can't be broken. So here's the truth. Real success, the kind that lasts, doesn't come from what's in your hands. It comes from what's in your head. Freedom isn't found in a plane ticket or quitting a job. Wealth isn't secured by a big paycheck. Power isn't earned through followers or noise. It all starts internally. If your mind is sharp, disciplined, and unshakable, everything else aligns. But if your mind is weak, no amount of money, status, or opportunities will save you. You don't rise because you got lucky. You rise because you built yourself for it. Mentally, you trained when no one was watching. You sacrificed when others were relaxing. You made decisions based on your future, not your feelings. That's the edge. That's what separates the average from the elite. So stop waiting for a breakthrough. Start becoming it. Build the kind of mind that doesn't fold, the kind that leads, the kind that dominates. Because once you master that, once your mind becomes your strongest weapon, freedom, wealth, and power won't be goals anymore. They'll be consequences.